Visual Basic. So this video and this set of videos will show you how to code Visual Basic in Visual Studio for your Unit 12 software development. Now we're going to start off with Tutorial 2. Now you're probably thinking, well, why not start with Tutorial 1, Rob? Now Tutorial 1 is basically showing you how to use Visual Studio. So I'm actually going to do that in this video, and the remainder of this video then will actually show you the first half of Tutorial 2 because I want you to do Tutorial 3 by yourself. So when you open up Visual Studio 2022, it'll look a little something like this. Now yours will probably be blank here if it's the first time you've opened it up. And literally all we're going to do is click on create a new project because we're going to make something new. And from all these different options, you'll notice that there's these little icons here like that's C Sharp, which is a different type of programming language. But we're looking for VB for Visual Basic. So if I scroll down, now there's VB. But this is a console app. That's not what we want. We actually want something where someone gets a chance to click on something like a Windows type of thing. So I'm going to go down a little bit further again. And that's the one, VB Windows Form app. So if I click on that and click on next, it will say to me, what do you want to call your project? And I'm going to call it Tutorial 2. And it's going to say to me, where do I want to have it saved? So it might be an idea to change the location so it actually saves within your Unit 12 folder. And the solution name, as you can see, is kind of copied down from the project name there as well. So if I press next, and I don't know what to do with that bit, but I'm just going to press create because I'm hoping it'll work. I'm actually going to overwrite something because I've already kind of done a tutorial to practicing for this video. Now, it might take a couple of seconds to get up and running, but it will eventually look like this. So it's waiting for something to initialize. And in fact, I'm going to pause the video just to give it a chance to do what it needs to do. So this is what you're presented with. There's a window for you to actually make something on, so put buttons, text boxes, that type of thing there. Over on the right-hand side, we've got the Solution Explorer, which will have the bits and pieces. And just to show you, on View, if I scroll right to the top of this, I don't know why it's gone down the bottom. Click up here. And if I click on Code, which is the very top option there, you can see this is the code which is associated with our Form 1. Now, at this point, we haven't actually done anything, so it's just kind of giving us the setup, and we'll be adding to this as we go along. And in fact, I'm not going to close it down. I'm just going to leave it there if I need to click on it at some stage. So a couple of things I need to add to this. I can't actually edit anything on this without the Properties Explorer, which will need to be across here on the right-hand side. And on View, if I scroll right the way down to the bottom of this huge list, I click on Properties window, it appears there. And in fact, I'm probably going to make that bigger at some point by dragging it up. And I also need something called a toolbox, which I want to attach to the side. So look at, now you might already have these on yours, the properties and toolbox. If you have, great. But if you haven't, this is how you get them. So back on View, there's also toolbox, and there's a shortcut key for it as well. And it chucks it there to the left-hand side. But really annoyingly, it kind of goes over the top of our window. So I'm just going to pin it in there so I can actually use it. I can see them both at the same time. And while that's kind of doing this initializing, when it's done, you can kind of click on this and see what the different options are. And I can literally just double click on these and then they will appear on here, or I can drag and drop them across whatever it is I want. So I'm just going to resize that a little bit because I don't need it to be that big. Now, first thing I'm going to do, I always hate the default colors and default size and the default name they give these windows. So now I've got it selected, you'll notice in properties it says Form 1, Form 1. It also shows the text. So that's basically, I think, the name for it. So if I change it from Form 1 to something else, I don't know if that's actually it. Let me just double check something. I think there's a name option here, but let me just type something in there just to see. Oh, it is updated. And look, it updates it there. So if I want to call it something like Tutorial 2, so I can see, or even if I had a name for this particular form, like login screen or something like that, just looks a little bit tidier like that as well. And I'm actually just going to drag this up a little bit so I can see a bit more of it. I'm going to change the background color because I always, like I said, I always hate the ones they give us. So I'm going to use my own conversion. I'm actually just going to use a nice blue like that. And if I wanted to, and I can resize this by dragging it out and so on as well. And you can see at the bottom of the screen down there, look, it actually shows us what size it is. So we can make it a particular size we want. But there is an option in amongst all this as well, somewhere down here, where you can change the size of it to be a specific number yourself. So either way, you can kind of do it that way. But I'm just going to leave it as it is for the time being. So I've changed the title, I've changed the background color. Now I'm going to start adding some of our tools from our toolbox to it. So the all Windows form shows you pretty much everything you need, I think. And the first thing I'm going to add on is a text box. So like I said, I can just double click on it and it will appear there. And I can resize it, drag it around, do what I want to it. Now notice, because I've got the toolbox selected or the text box selected, it is actually kind of showing us the properties for the text box here. So again, if I wanted to, I could change the background color of it. I could change the font, which is going to appear as well, the size as well. If I actually click on the little the plus sign there, it actually expands out so I can break these down and do as many things as I want with it if I want to, that is. But at this stage, I don't want anything kind of in there. I just want to leave it as it is. And just one thing I want to point out with this as well, it's actually called text box one because you can give them proper names. Because if you had 100 text boxes, you might not want to call them text box one, text box two, text box three. There might be specific things for those, like first name text box or surname text box, that type of thing. Okay. And the only other thing I really need to add to this now is a button. So I'm going to double click on my button. It will appear here. And my button, again, I'm not going to change what the name of the button is for the time being, but I do want to change what the text is because I want it to say click here. And as I press enter, it will update on there for us. Now, I'm kind of one for like changing the way things look and making them like my own thing, as you might have already guessed. One thing I like in particular is when I hover over a button, like it does there in this stage, I want it to change so it looks like it's a little hand to click on it. So where it says cursor default, now that means it will stay as it is, as my cursor currently is when I put the mouse over it. So one of the things I like to do straight away with it before doing any coding is just change it so it kind of looks like, oh, I can't find it. I'm not going to hand. There it is. Hand like that. Now, at this stage, nothing kind of happens, is it? But if I press play at the top there, the little green arrow, the play button, I should say, when it loads up, and it will load up, just give it a few seconds, because it shouldn't take long to load up because I haven't actually done anything apart from edit the way it looks. Now, you'll see that it's actually running our program here, which is lovely. And down at the bottom, look, it actually appears in a separate window. So you can actually you might have noticed in the properties, you can bring in things like your own icons, so appear up in the top left there, and so it'll appear on the taskbar as well. One of the lovely things I think is these diagnostic tools, so it actually shows us how much kind of memory and kind of processor speed is being used for what we're doing here. So if I come back onto that, and as you'll see when I put the mouse over click here, it actually changes by default anyway. And again, I can change that if I wanted to, but the cursor changes. So it's kind of a nice touch. I like that. Right. So at this point, and I just press X and you know, this will stop. No, there was a stop sign in the background. But like I said, at this point, we haven't actually done anything. So on our code, back here on Form 1, there isn't anything there at this point in time. But if I double click on anything here, so if I double click on the background, or if I double click on the button, or double click on the text box, it will make a sub procedure for that particular element then. So if I double click on the button, it will bring us onto that code and it will make this bit of code for our button. So basically it'll say when the button is clicked, button1.click, it will do whatever is in this space here. Okay. Now, all I'm going to do at this point, I know my text box is called text box one because we didn't change it to be a necessity text box one. I just want it so when I click on this, a welcome message appears in the text box. So I'm just going to type in text box and you'll notice as I'm typing, this is really nice about Visual Studio. It kind of gives you kind of things to help you out with. So all these other bits here, which kind of got this brown color on there, these are things which are already pre-built into Visual Studio. But this one here, text box one, with this little blue box kind of thing on there, that's basically the one which we've set up. So it's making a reference to it. So rather than me having to type it out and potentially make a spelling mistake, I can literally double click on it and it does that for me. Now, I said I want to do something with the text box. Like I said to you guys earlier, I actually want a welcome message to appear in it. So basically what I'm going to say is when I click on the button, when the text box, if I press a dot here, it will then give me all these different options to choose from, and it's dozens and dozens and dozens of things for you to scroll through and have a look at, which can make things happen. But what I want it to do is do something to the text in it. All right, so text like that. And then all I'm going to do is press an equal sign, open up some speech marks, and put a welcome in, like so. Now, what was nice it was when I opened up the first speech mark, the second one was already kind of set for me, so I don't have to type it out. And the red, which is kind of nice as well, indicates that that's text which is going to appear somewhere. So I'm going to press play, and maybe I should press save actually as well. So Control S or press save there. Now, if I've got loads of things I've done, so loads of different things open, I can press save all and do all that in one go. So if I just press play, and it doesn't matter if I'm on the code or if I'm actually on the window at this point, what should happen? It should load up our window like we did before. Like I said to you earlier, look, there's a stop button if you don't want to press X to kind of cancel it out. Sometimes you press X there and that it doesn't cancel it, so you have to press that anyway. So if I press click here, what should happen is welcome should appear there. Yay. So that's the code for that. And as you can see, that's what it is there in the background. Now, like I said to you earlier, I'm only showing you the first half of this tutorial. So basically, I've taken you up to that stage there. And I want you guys now to carry on and make your own, well, do your own program once you've done the one I've just shown you how to do, that is, which covers this second half here.